Hello, welcome to the Reasonably Effective podcast. We're up to episode 34 as we are just storming along, brought to you by myself, Uncommon Fossil, and 10 Types. Why don't you say hello, 10
Yep.
Types?
Hello, everyone.
All right, hopefully you've been having a good week playing Pokemon and playing TCG Live. Which is part of what I think we're going to start off with a little bit, right? First, there was a big announcement that came. You probably saw it on
hmm
the what's the big website with the news?
PokeBeach.
I'm
Yeah, can I
blanking.
actually say the
PokeBeach.
announcement?
Please do. Yes, I
Yeah, so
don't.
it's actually very big. It's a really big deal. The official Pokemon TCG app, is being sunsetted. The Pokemon TCG card decks app, that is. Um,
Okay,
so
not being clickbaity there at all with the way you said that,
no,
right?
no, I'm just representing it as honestly as possible. Yeah, no. So the Pokemon TCG card decks app is getting shut down. And some of you don't know what that honestly, like I haven't like used it. I don't
I
know.
don't know what it is at all. And like I looked at like the very first comment I think on
PokeBeach.
PokeBeach.com was
Yeah.
I didn't even know it actually existed, which is I think most people's position too. So
Yeah.
enlighten me about it.
Yeah. So I don't know too much about it, but I know it's for like collecting stuff.
It's just TCG based, right? It's not like it's not Poke. It doesn't collect things like the video game or Go or Unite, right? It's just TCG, I think.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I think it's for tracking your collection. I believe it also had kind of bad ratings in the App Store or whatever the Play Store or whatever the different ones are.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
it wasn't as bad as live, but it wasn't great. I think it was like somewhere between 2 and 3
Right.
out
And
of
this
five.
isn't really, and whereas live is trying to do a lot of things. So look, it's not good, but it's complicated. This should be pretty simple to put together, you'd think.
I don't know if it was like bad, but I don't really think it like did anything.
Okay.
I think it was just like not impressive at all. Um, I might have been glitchy too, but I think the bigger issue is it was just not much of anything. So
Okay. Yeah, I think it maintained a list of your card collection. I imagine there's other apps out there that people could use too that probably are still there if that's something you need to do. Um, yeah. And did you want to talk about the reason Pokemon said why they're doing it or no?
yeah, and they said they're doing it to allocate more resources to live. So that's interesting, I guess. They said that with PCGO. When they sunset that, and of course there was a lot of work being set into PCGO. Um,
Yeah. And I
and
do think though that Live did pick up a little bit after PTCGO sunsetted. Whether it was just coincident or
I'm not
not, I'm
sure
not
if it
sure.
did. I mean, it didn't like
Well,
work. I
they
think
had
like
issues, but they fixed the issues quicker than the past, right? Because in the past, I think they fixed an issue like within a week, and that was like records
um
breaking for them.
well, I think they like banned the card within a week. I don't think
And
they
then they fixed it
fixed it.
within a week or two after that.
Maybe. Yeah. I think it was like 2 weeks.
Okay,
Like they fixed it, which isn't
it's
good.
not
Like that's
good,
still
but
like bad.
it was better than
Um,
like they'd done before, though. But yes, so
and this was like a glitch that caused like every game to crash, I
yeah,
think.
I mean that's fair
So,
enough.
I don't know. If it was better, it was not much better. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was particularly much of a pickup. Um, I don't think it was worth discontinuing live for whatever, or sorry, from discontinuing PCGO for whatever they did. And
No,
so
but we
I
knew they weren't going
expect,
to keep PTCGO going, whereas
yeah,
the
which is
card decks
fine,
they could have
but
maintained.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think uh, I don't expect much change. I think part of it is they just like I don't think the card deck, as I said, it's like people don't like it, so they have no reason to keep it around. It's kind of like
yeah.
the opposite of PCGO. Um, PCGO it was like not great by any means, but it was okay. But they were discontinuing it because of they like wanted the resources elsewhere. But
Right.
with card decks, they just don't want the resources there because it's kind of useless.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of resources probably going into the card decks. But nobody's really utilizing it. At least not. It's just not worth the bother. But they don't want to say that, right? We're stopping it because it's nobody cares about it. They don't want to say that. So, whereas PTCGO, they dropped that not because they wanted people to be forced to live, right? They wanted to promote live, which dropping PTCGO did that. So,
Yeah, I think so. And also like it was money to run PTCGO.
yeah, they were paying an outside firm to do it, and they had servers they had to maintain to run the games and all. So yes, they weren't going to pay for two online clients live in PTCGO long term, side by side.
Yeah, and then that obviously leads us into talking about live, right? And live, I think the
Yeah.
big thing is there's a glitch. I don't know if this is a new glitch or not. Well, okay, I know the overall glitch is not a new glitch, but the impact of the glitch might be new. And there's like an infinite, like essentially infinite money glitch in live. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know you pretty much can get like infinite, or you get extra. Um, Packs or like currency or something by
Yeah.
well pretty much like live crashes as it does and then you get
Hmm.
extra stuff because it gets like confused. I believe this has to do with so you know the screen, like that blank screen with the blank rewards, right?
Yes, which right picks which happens just randomly on a regular basis.
Yeah, and so if you don't know, that can I don't know the exact reason, but it shows up sometimes. If you press play to start a game and then it shows up, the game won't immediately start, but don't press play again because that's how you get queued into multiple matches. Um,
Mm.
and so that's like I've known this for a little while. I think I might have said it on the podcast before. So you just wait a little and then the game will start. But if you keep pressing it, it's going to just queue you into a bunch of matches. So I
Mhm.
think that's the same idea with pack glitches and possibly other glitches. It you do something, the game registers that you're trying to do it, but it doesn't do it yet, and it just like keeps registering that, and then like backlogs all this stuff, and then like all of a sudden just does it. So it does the same thing over and over again.
Mhm.
I think this is definitely a cause of the your like what's the ladder rank?
Desyncing.
No, the ladder rank. Is it just called
Oh,
rank?
the yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay. This is like the cause to rank loss. It might be the cause of desyncing. It might be the cause. It's probably the cause of this weird like duplication glitch. And it might be the cause of pretty much everything wrong with live. I'm not sure. Um, but this is like the only thing, as far as I know, this had like a quote positive outcome for players. But like obviously it's like an issue. Um, it's
Y-
not something. Hopefully now Pokemon will get on it because this is something that's bad for them.
Yeah, potentially. Now, look, I do think it's connected. This past week, there's been a notification that you get when you log in the game that said we're aware of issues during card redemption, right? And log out and come back in type things, like they say. I think it's connected with that too. Um, it could cost them money, so they might want to do it. But part of the issue, the complication with Live is they don't make any money on the online client, right? Didn't with PTCGO. They really don't now. I mean, I guess unless you can argue that they can charge more per pack because of that digital code, right? Which I don't think they can, right? Other than that,
Um,
there's
yeah,
zero
I mean
money
not
that
more
they
than they
make.
would before. Um, yeah, so I think yeah, I mean they just don't make money, so they don't have the reason to put as like care as much.
Right. I mean, it hurts people that resell online codes because, in a sense, you can just get this massive base of credits with it. Now, look, there's one YouTuber that posted the glitch. There's another YouTuber that showed them talking about it, but then they also gave the warning, hey, with other games, if you do something like this, you will get banned, which is true. But of course, most other games, the company seems to show more care for the game and it's in better condition than this. But abusing a glitch like this, you could probably get your account just closed permanently. I would certainly
Yeah.
not recommend it because first, I don't think it's the right thing to do. But also, you don't know what the consequences are. They ignore things, but at some point, they just may not, they may take action.
Yeah, and then I think I'm tempted to say that they have like done penalties. I don't know if it was for live or PCGO.
Mm.
Actually, they didn't really. You could get like people farmed on PCGO like the whole time as well. So maybe not.
Yeah, I
And
don't.
then I didn't think about it. People essentially got infinite stuff on PCGO. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
maybe they don't.
I mean, I know like in Magic the Gathering Arena, which is certainly that's highly monetized, and I would never want to see live monetized to that extent. But obviously, it's a much better game in terms of its design and development. That they've when there's been in-game glitches, and that even like a glitch that could lead to an auto win, like lock up your opponent, which obviously happens in live too. They've actually taken away people's. They've reduced rankings of people that they know that farmed issues, even like that. So other games do take this type of thing seriously and abuses of it. I don't know that Pokemon will, but just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and one other thing which scares me a little is you can do the glitch accidentally. I've heard a lot of
Yeah.
accounts of that. Um, like as I said, it just due to get disconnecting, which happens all the time. It can
Hmm.
happen through and cause a wide variety of effects. Most of them are bad. In this case, it's like a positive outcome for the player. But yeah, so like it can happen accidentally. I mean, it's not a good thing. And it's like the game's not working. And then there's
Right.
one other glitch. That I believe, I mean, it's like a glitch that happens all the time, but matchmaking when or like friend matches, it's
Hmm.
awkward, I think, to like send them. Sometimes they just don't like work at all. And sometimes like it
Yeah.
takes a little while for them to show up, and it's sometimes you have to like log out and log back in.
Yeah, that I mean, I honestly forget that that whole friend system exists in live. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. It's not good. It's buried, right? How do you find that stuff, and does it really work right? It's yeah. I mean, live is just it like it's a very poor version of PTCGO at this point. The idea it's a year at least before they get it to the level of PTCGO what we had before. I think,
Mhm.
because there's just so many weak areas.
Yeah, and
One of the,
PTGO wasn't even that good either.
no, no, people were not happy with it. And honestly, when the news came out that Pokemon was going to take control over the online client and make live, people were excited in large part because they weren't happy with how PTCGO was run. So we don't want to forget that we don't think PTCGO was better than it actually was. But live obviously is just kind of a disaster. It's I mean it's playable, right? I mean I can play the game. You can play the game most of the time
Yeah, I
properly, right?
play it and
It
I enjoy
works.
it, but I do that because it's Pokemon, and I enjoy playing Pokemon.
Yeah. So, but I mean the right now the glitches in the game don't impact most of the games I play, right? And I think that's true for most people, but obviously it's still it's got to get better.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, and then do you have something you wanted to say?
yeah, on with live, and it gets back. I don't. One of the things that PTCGO had that live needs to get to me is there's the whole deck builder is not very good in live. I don't think in multiple ways. But one of the things is how do you find out a line of Pokemon? And I don't know evolutions. I don't know if the decks let you do that or not. But like in PTC, I'm
What do you
building a
mean?
deck.
And what do you mean?
When I'm building a deck in PTCGO, you click on a Pokemon, you could expand it and see all the evolutions, the basics, the stage one, the stage two, and the different ones from the different sets you could choose from, right? In live, we can't do that. All you see is that one card. You have to know if it's a stage one or stage two, you can see what it evolves from, right? But you can't
Yeah.
see what it evolves into. And some of them even change types. There's more complicated things, right? And obviously you kind of know things, but you want to be able to look at those
But you
ideas that
don't.
you
Yeah, you
don't know
don't.
too. Well, and not look, I don't. You know more than I do, but even you don't know all of them, right? And you want to.
I've never had an issue with that. I think most people know pretty much all. I think most people, we've talked about this before, and because Pokemon come, it's not just a card game; it's like a big thing.
It
And so
is.
a lot of people know it from like outside the TCG. So I know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know all of them pretty much. I've never really
No,
had an issue with that.
but I'm working on a deck like an off the beaten track deck, and I see I know this Pokemon a card. I want to work on this card or that card, and then I want to see what else the options are. It's really good to just see all of them in one place, right? Not have to search through, not have to go if not have to go to some other place to try and find out these things. So I think live. Look, I think that was a good feature in PTCGO. The
Yeah,
fact
I
that you
definitely
could
liked it.
And it's not like it's like crazy hard. I mean, honestly, there's a bunch of things at PTGO that I think we would agree that Live needs to incorporate.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, but let me ask you this: is there a good website out there to find out these evolution lines and such? Because
Like
all
the
the places
cards
are,
or like
yeah. If I'd like to be able to click on like a stage one and find out what all the basics that it evolves from are, as well as what the stage twos it evolves from, and be able to like scan around through that quickly.
I don't have like a great way of doing that. As far as I know, Limitless does not do that.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm clicking on like Gardevoir here, and no, it does not look like it does. However, you can use Bulbapedia, which shows
Yeah.
the Pokemon, and
Hmm.
then you can see all the cards for that Pokemon, and then for the
Yeah.
Pokemon, you can see like the evolution line, which will get you there. Um, it's
Yeah.
kind of clunky, but yeah,
It's not a
it
great site, but
works.
it's there. I mean, yes, that would
I
do
mean,
it.
it's a good site, but not for that.
Well, the pages seem a little slow, and there's a lot of other. It's got a lot of other information that you don't need
Yeah,
just when
yeah,
you're trying to build a deck. That
yeah.
you
No,
just care about the text on the card.
yeah.
So,
I think it's a very big site. But
oh, it's got tons of information. That's another good resource. So I don't mean to put it down.
yeah. But yeah. So and then one other thing, we're talking about PTGO,
Yes.
Pokemon TCG
Hmm.
Live. I think we need to talk about Twin Leaf. That people have
The
forgotten about. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it. That's pretty much what I'm saying. So Twinleaf, for those of you who don't know, twinleaf.gg. Let me see if it
So it's
um that
twinleaf.gg.
yeah, let's see. Yeah, it does show up, but it doesn't say anything. Or has some stuff, but pretty much nothing. So, the issue is that it was
So it's just
supposed.
this one. Okay, go on.
Yeah, it says it's coming soon, right? Um,
Right.
and that's it. Pretty much. It says made by fans for fans. If you don't know what it is, made by Dan TDM, and
Yeah.
some other people. Dan TDM is not a major Pokemon card player, but he is one. But then the other people are more integrated with the Pokemon scene,
Mhm.
smaller but still there. But we haven't heard any news, as far as I know, for like over a month. Like I haven't heard, or for like maybe a month, I haven't, like, not even any signs that they're working on it, which is not a good thing. Um, so.
Yeah, I
Uh,
just clicked on their little Twitter symbol, which of course even the Twitter symbol is now outdated, but well, that's its own thing for
yeah.
another day. But it's July 2nd is the last post
And
on
only
here.
post, yeah. And I
And
believe there used to be
yes.
more information, and they've taken off information. So all I can assume is at this point that it's not happening, or like it's just something that's being set aside. Um,
Mhm.
so that's unfortunate because they said, like originally they were like, it's not supposed to replace live, it's not supposed to, it wasn't supposed to replace live, but supposed to kind of do some of the things that live can't. That's why it was supposed to be created. But
Yeah.
presumably that's just not happening, which is pretty unfortunate because it got a lot of people excited. And it seemed,
Hmm.
I'd be really happy if it came to fruition, but right now it seems like it's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, probably either just was more complicated than they thought, right? Obviously, the more you want it to do, the more you want things automated, the more complicated it is, right?
Yeah.
Because there are the games, the tabletop simulators, and if it's just that, I don't think people are going to be happy with it. So you want to automate things, and then obviously at some point, Pokemon's legal team is not going to be happy about things.
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah.
assume too.
Mhm. I don't think they're, I mean, Pokemon, the company seems to not care too much about online clients in general. So, I don't think that's like a major issue. I mean, of course, it could become an issue depending what you
Yeah.
do, but I don't think it's like, I think we would have heard something right now. By now, it
Yeah.
seems like because Dan TDM, he's if you don't know Dan TDM, he has um not quite 30 million subscribers, but pretty close on YouTube. Pretty big content creator. I believe maybe the highest, like, I don't know, like top YouTuber in the UK or something like that, something like crazy.
Hmm.
Um, and so that if you're a big you're not gonna like be quiet. Like your whole job is like say stuff. So you wouldn't just like not talk about it. And it's very strange that they're not talking about it. So presumably they don't have anything. Um, But I don't know. Figured that was something that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, I mean that's out there for sure. So, or at least the idea of it's out there. Whether it exists as something or not, I don't know. Right? That's the quest, right? It's a big mystery at this point. What is it or what isn't it? So, yeah.
Uh,
So we'll see. We'll see. I think live will be playable before Twin Leaf is out. That'd be my guess in terms
I
of
mean,
we're
I'd say
not
Live's
seeing.
playable now. I mean, like
Yeah,
you can play it. So, most of the time, not all the time.
yeah. I think within a year, live will be solid. It's not quite solid yet. I think it'll
Maybe.
be at the. I think with a year it'll be about as good as PTCGO was.
I'll be
Now,
happy if that happens. I don't know. I think it's gonna be, and that could be. I mean, a year's a pretty long time from now,
mhm.
but and life has improved, right? It's
Yeah.
improved a substantial amount, which is good.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's got its rough patches, but it's yeah. No, they have got it has gotten better, and of course they have certainly revised the graphics in the game many times too, which
Uh,
seems to be their specialty.
yeah, and revise not necessarily improve either. They change them all the time.
Yeah, they changed the
Um,
animations.
Oftentimes make them very bright and flashy, and which I believe is like not what they mean to do. Like consistently they like make it like flash across the whole screen, but that's usually like a
Hmm.
glitch, and then it's like patched out, and then it happens again. So
Yeah. So anyway, that's probably enough on live, right? I mean, I don't know. We have much more to say about live, and
yeah, I
it's
don't. I think
it,
we don't want to be too get too down in the dumps. So we need to talk about something else.
yes. Yeah,
Uh,
people don't want to hear more. So we have some new cards. Is that what we're going to next?
Yeah. So the new cards are I think there's two here. So the one I want you to read here is the Jirachi. So can you read just the ability here? It's a basic Pokemon, by the way. 70 HP metal.
Hmm. Okay. Read. What am I reading? The ability. So Stellar Veil, which again, the names are often not what the final translation
Yeah.
is,
Although I
but
would not be shocked if this is the final translation.
yeah, these are Pokemon word.
Yeah.
These are
Oh no,
words
I'll
common.
say why this is, and
Oh,
you
this
might
in
realize it.
particular.
You might realize it, but you probably won't because you don't know the names of.
I don't really know much of anything. All right, so attacks from your opponent's basic Pokemon can't put damage counters on your bench Pokemon. Oh, this sounds very similar. So we have Wave Veil, right? Is the Manaphy, right? So Stellar Veil. Oh wait, but so
Yeah.
attacks.
All right. Mhm.
Oh, but they can't put them. So it's not they don't damage them. So this stops Sableye.
Yep. And that's about
Wow.
it. But yeah, it stops Sableye. And so
That
this is just a counter to Sableye. I think it's getting people are saying this is like the end of Lost Box, which like doesn't seem true, but um,
right.
it's
I mean,
pretty
there are so many
good.
cards that were printed that were the end of Mew, right? And Mew just won the world championship. So
Yeah.
this will not end. Lost Box is also very strong, so it doesn't end
Yeah,
it. But go
especially
on.
because Lost Box has a lot of other stuff that isn't counted by this, but like
Right.
Mirage Gate and Cramorant. But yeah,
Hmm.
this is interesting. Some people are really loving it. A lot of people are like hating on Sableye right now. It's I believe so. There's a regional tournament happening at the time of recording this,
Yep.
and I believe the top two decks were Lost Zone Giratina and the regular Lost Zone. So yeah, a lot of Sableye.
Of actual the people that were playing there. You took a look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think I saw this somewhere. I don't know if that was. I literally just like glanced. It could have been some other tournament for all I know, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Pretty much the thing is that Sableye is it's pretty popular right now, and a lot of people don't like it, even though it's not actually like. I mean, it's very good, but I wouldn't say it's that annoying. Like it does
Hmm.
mess up your setup, but it doesn't. Usually it's not like set up in the early game, and right now a lot of
Right.
Pokemon have enough HP to more than 60 HP.
Right. I mean, yes. Right. It takes 10 in the Lost Zone for the attack if you're not familiar with the Sableye. So it takes usually what, like 3 turns to get there, probably.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
It,
I'd say
it,
usually some more actually, because
yeah,
um, like you don't push for getting 10 and lost, but you can usually by turn three.
yeah. The difficulty of the deck in terms of playing against it is Sableye. It's a threat, right? But then in Lost Zone, you often will pair it with some big attackers, right? Like say Lost Zone Giratina being what's been online at least the most played deck. You have this Giratina that just smashes everything out of the game, and then if you play little stuff, the Sableye just takes you out too. So that dual threat is tricky. So it's interesting. And now you can't. Obviously, you play one Jirachi, you play one Manaphy. Obviously, you don't ever want to probably have to play both of them,
Yeah,
which you
well,
might have to
some
do
people are
against Lost
yeah,
Zone,
because Raiden
and that's
Ninja, um,
and that's pretty scary to Pokemon like that.
yeah, and
With
then
bench space and stuff, you can't always pull that off.
yeah, it's gonna be awkward. I think people are overreacting. Surprisingly, I'm not. Obviously, people like overreact sometimes, but I don't
Mhm.
know. I've heard like so many people say like this is the end of Zone, but I don't think it is. You can canceling Cologne as well. You can like guess up canceling
Yeah,
Cologne. Um, you could just KO it as well. It's like it's good though. I'm happy about this
right.
card. And then it's attack here for one color search deck for 2 basic energy and reveal them and put them into your hand. Oh wait, no, I thought it was attach them. Never mind. It's not
No,
very good.
it's not a good. No,
That's
I was
bad.
looking at that. That's a terrible attack. So
Yeah. So bad attack is colorless, which is good, I guess. But yeah. Oh, and then there's this other special. I don't think there's much more to say about Jirachi. Actually, no, there is one thing. So people are comparing it a
okay.
lot to Drapion. I haven't actually seen too
Mhm.
much. I like saw a bunch of stuff, but I didn't look into all the things. Um, but I think that's an interesting comparison. In some senses, I'd say they're not that similar. I'd say it's more similar to Spiritomb, which kind of
Yeah,
stops it before it happens. Drapion like hits, like one shot something and is like a
right. It's an
KOing.
attacker. This is not an attacker.
Yeah, but yeah, I think this strategy is cool. I like it. Um,
Well, and you like to play control, right? Also, like
yeah, but I
at
also like to
least you
play
try
Lost
to
Zone.
play
I also like to play Lost
control.
Zone.
So certainly, like if you're playing control, this is another piece for the control deck, I assume, right?
I guess.
Um, in placing damage counters, there are other Pokemon that do it. It's not huge, but they are, and it's a big deal when you can do it, right? For the attacks that have done it.
Yeah, and keep in mind it's only to the bench, so something like
Mhm.
say Mimikyu, which does I think both the Mimikyu V and Baby Mimikyu put damage counters on your points active. This will not stop that in any way.
Right. I mean, in a sense, like if a card like Dragapult VMAX came out again, right? This becomes important. It can become important against other decks depending on what comes out. But yeah, it's not going to end Lost Zone probably. It's got enough tricks up its sleeve.
Yeah. And then let's take a look at this other card here, which I think is a little bit interesting. It's called Medical Energy. It's
Mhm.
a colorless energy, but when you attach it, you heal 30. I honestly don't know if we've seen this before. I feel like we have. It seems like something I've seen before,
Huh.
but there are energies similar to it as well. Um, I think there was like a grass energy like this. It's grass special energy.
Okay.
But I think this card is kind of cool. It's nothing that impressive, but possibly in colorless Lugia, but also in
Right.
like um, I don't know. I think it's a cool card.
Well, I cracked what you do with it. But I mean, and obviously we do have Switch Cart that heals 30, so this healing 30 is a thing now for sure.
I mean
Um,
potion also,
yeah, so I
which
guess
is
that's
always
been
healed
a
30.
standard
Yeah.
heal number in the game. So, um, we've got the Lugia. You put it in that, but the problem is you're accelerating it. You're not attaching from hand, so it's not going to actually do the healing most of the time. So
Yeah. But
you,
like
you
jet energy is played in the deck, which is like to swing in,
mhm.
and that doesn't get triggered a lot of the time.
Yes, I get. I mean, the other deck where I think I will want to get this and put it in is in the. Oh, now I'm blanking the name.
What's it do?
It's the V, the colorless V that
What?
accelerates to itself, right? Does what 20 per
Blissey?
Blissey V, right? Blissey
Wait, but
V.
oh, because you
But
attach and
again,
then you like heal. Yeah,
but
it's
you'll
okay.
attach some too, right? It's just as good as in the Lugia deck, right? In terms of the healing aspect, right? You're
Yeah.
going to attach just as often. You'll attach heal once or twice. And Blissey is a tanky deck if it's going to ever when it works, right? If it's not tanky, you're just losing.
Yeah.
So a little more tankiness with Blissey, right? Blissey's obviously not the top play around, but it exists, and this goes with that. And I like tanky Pokemon, and beefy attackers. So just a chance to heal things up some. And if you have something that the damage level is boosted by more energy too as you heal it, you have to you want to get some benefit out of the energy attachment besides the healing, I would say, right? Like with Blissey, you do a little more damage too. And I think there's other
Yeah.
things that may benefit from it.
Yeah, no, this is probably good in Blissey. But
Oh,
then
a Giratina V Star, right? When you attack, you discard energies. If you can attach another energy to attack again and heal 30. So it can have benefit in places like that too.
I guess. I'm clearly not like, it's not that good of a card.
No,
Uh,
it's not. No, Jirachi's a bigger deal
yeah.
between these two.
But then
Okay.
you also said you're cooking up some other decks, right? You didn't tell me what
Yeah.
they were, but
All right. So I
actually you
was
told me
working.
one of them.
I told you one. I didn't start off by talking about my week or ask about your week, and you can share about your week too. But working on some decks, I certainly enjoy putting some off the beaten path decks, and I make videos on them when I think the deck has some viability. I put a decent amount of time to two decks this week, and I just scrapped them both. So which I'll just share with that. The one is the Glamora. It's a how they evolve deck, Glamora and Jumpluff, the Glamora Shattering Crystal, stage one when it's
Glamora
knocked out.
EX, you said?
No, not the
Regular
EX. I don't
Glamora?
have that one because that's a new card, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think I have that yet. So that might be just the old Glamora, how they evolved. Shattering Crystal, when it's knocked out, flip a coin. If heads, they can't take a prize card. So that's not bad, right? And it one fighting energy poisons 6 damage counters. Not bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
And then you pair it with the Jumpluff, which is a both the stage one, which is what the Skiploom and the Jumpluff have the drifting dodge ability. Any damage is done to this Pokemon by attacks. And that includes if it's on the bench and is attacked by Radiant Greninja. Flip a coin. If heads, no prevent that damage. So just an annoying deck. And I've gone up against this deck some. Always been annoyed by it, so I
Just
wanted to
wondering, do
play
you
it.
run the other Skiploom, any of that, to evolve faster or not?
I no, because the Skiploom has the same ability. It does like 30 less, and the damage on Jumpluff is 60 to the active, 30 to the bench. The Skiploom, I think, does 30 to the active and 30 to the bench, so it's almost as good. And the
Yeah.
Jumpluff's HP is still only 90, so it's there's not a huge difference between the two.
Yeah. So you just want to like annoy your opponent a bunch.
It is. And the deck worked for me as well as it worked when I played up against it. I was always really annoyed playing against it and hated it, but then was glad when I won the game because I always beat the deck. And it just didn't work, right? You're just having to get too many Pokemon back into play. The idea is, if they have to take they have to attack 12 of these little single prize deck cards to get their 6 prizes. That gives me 12 attacks, right? I could win, but it just would not. It just didn't want to get there, you know. So I gave up on that deck. And then the other deck that I think is better is Toxicroak EX, which is a poison deck. Toxic Ripper does 120 damage and puts 6 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. Not bad there.
Yeah, and you're not using it's not like a control deck with a first stack, which is search for any two cards.
No. You didn't want. No, it was not a control deck. Obviously, that's a nice attack too. Nasty plot there. Search for 2 cards. There's other Pokemon I think that do that better probably. Um, but 120, and it's a dark colorless, so you probably have a DTE. You're doing 160. You're not one-shotting anything, right? Of a multiprizer, but the poison adds up, and you can add the extra 20 per turn. Also with the Radiant Hisuian Sneasler, so your opponent has to do something to get out of that damage, right? Otherwise, they're going to get knocked out the next turn. So
Yeah.
they have to switch and stuff. And then I played a 1/1.
Well, they might
Although
like not die. They could live. So if they're like a really well, I guess most of the high HP Pokemon it does 280. So then if it's more than that, it's probably a Dark Wraith Pokemon. So yeah, I guess it carries pretty much everything.
hmm And then I played a 1/1 in the muck because you want to get into it. I forget what the once one is when it evolves, the poison counters don't go away. Special conditions don't go away, I think is what it said.
Yeah.
I forget
And you're
exactly
not
what it
playing the
says.
other mock that increases
And I
their
played
HP.
no,
You
I
do?
played that too.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you got to go all in with these things. So, and it just, so it was a fun deck. But never got anywhere. I will say that I think it could be a deck if I could sort it out. But I spent probably at least 2 or 3 days working on that deck, and then I was like, well, this is a waste of my time. If you
It
have
took you
suggestions on the
like 3 days to realize that the deck wasn't good.
it, yeah, I did win games with this, I will say, right? But mostly because my opponent didn't set up, which you'll win with every deck pretty much. But it could come pretty close though, even up against. I could get a really close matchup to good decks as long as if even when they set up though. I will say. So it was just off working, I think, but I don't know
Yeah,
that's going to
it
get
just
there.
barely loses every game.
It is that kind of deck. It is. It's a close game, but
Yeah,
you're
but
losing all the
yeah.
time. So I didn't make a video. It's just not worth it. I might come back to it because it's and poison is always a fun thing to do. So then I said, what am I going to do? So I looked at Limitless and looked at and I just went ahead and say, what should I play? And I said, I'm going to play the most played deck, and it's got a very nice win rate, and that is the Giratina Lost Zone. It's just gone much better. I got to say, it's a very good deck. I'm not great at Lost Zone, but it's just and learning Giratina because Giratina you can attack with the V Star turn 2. You can get by turn 3 easy, if not turn 2, the V Star attack off. You attack turn 1 going second with Giratina is a really nice
With
play.
your
Get
oh,
with the
wait,
V
what?
because you get 2 more cards in the Lost Zone. If you go
Oh,
second,
Abyss Seeking. Yeah, I
yeah,
feel
it's
like
actually
Cramorant's like better. I don't know. I know some people like that a lot. I don't really use that much. I don't find it. I mean, it's okay, but
because if you could attack with Kermit, you have 4 in the Lost Zone, right? But now you get 6 in the Lost Zone, so I probably can get to 10 the following turn, and 10 is the magic number with this deck for most matchups, right?
yeah,
So
I guess.
and obviously learning it between the Giratina, you have the Cramorant, it's there. You have Radiant Greninja, you have Sableye. It's got a lot of pieces, right? It's a very powerful deck. I think it's learning to play it isn't easy, but it's a very good deck. And as a budget player, they give you this deck, and it's actually pretty cheap to upgrade it to. Even the full version of it isn't that much to spend. The big expense is you need to get a third Giratina V and V Star.
Yeah,
Other than that, pretty much you already have everything else, or if not, they're cards you need to craft anyway, like Ionos and stuff.
yeah.
So
Um, and
anyway,
then
once I switched to Giratina, Lost on Giratina, my life got much better, I will say, in my Pokemon world.
yeah,
All
it's
of a sudden, I was
pretty
winning
good.
games, and my rank is going up, and it's just amazing what happens. So
Yeah, it's a pretty good deck. I've also been playing that deck some, because it's very good. I think it's probably the best. I mean, there's some other like Roger decks that I think also have potential. Um, I have been messing around a little bit with other Lost Zone decks and putting
mhm.
other stuff in there. Actually, or I was going to. I don't remember if I actually did. But I mean, Lost Zone Guillotine is very good. But I actually learned something about control
Yeah,
as well. We were saying we might talk about that a little,
okay,
because we
yep.
talked about that a little last time. And so I'm looking at specifically Sander. How do I say his last time? Sander Wojcik, whatever.
That's why most people just say Sander.
Yeah. But then the world's deck, I learned a little more about it.
Okay,
And I tried out like the stuff against Lost Zone because for a while I just like wasn't seeing any Lost Zone, which is good, I guess. So I'd like win, but I didn't really know how the matchup went. I was just like, this seems like bad, but in my personal control deck. So then I looked at more into this, and the matchup's still kind of sketchy, but the idea is either you Regieleki loop,
hmm
and you use Regielekis to just recover. You like penny loop essentially, and you can do that forever. Um, you technically can't do it forever. You might deck out, um, but you can essentially do it forever. And then you also have
hmm
Bouffalant, which is actually very good. I learned 50, but for 3 colorless, you also lost on energy attached to your opponent's active, which
hmm
is very important against like Giratina as an energy removal tool.
Okay, and it's gone from the game, right? So that's the nice thing. Lost Zone is much more effective than discarding
Yeah, although
that.
even if it just discarded, it would be okay.
hmm
But yeah, Bouffalant's an interesting card. So I started to learn that, but I think I do need Bravery Charm on Regieleki, so then they can't one-shot it with Giratina V. A Giratina V is a bit annoying because it doesn't lose its energy when you when they attack with it. Giratina V Star, as you were saying,
hmm
the regular attack loses energy, and you can only use the V Star once per
Yes.
game.
Right. Right. Okay. So wait. So you need the Bravery Charm for what? What Pokemon?
Regieleki, which has 130. Because Giratina
I get
V
to
does
one.
160, so Bravery Charm will escape that
Okay.
range.
Okay. Right. Yes. Okay. So
Uh,
right. So they have to then attack with the V
yeah, the V star.
star, and then right. You don't want to be burning up those energies against control decks.
Yeah. And then I think that's about it. I'm trying to make control better. I've been slowly improving my control deck, and it's been going okay. It's my main deck I've been using to grind the ladder. AKA I've been playing a lot and not moving up that much because, of course, the deck's not like super broken, but also because the games are really long. So,
Hmm.
but I've been learning a lot and I've been improving my control list a bunch. And I think it's okay. I think the deck still has some serious potential. Um, yeah, I think it's like I think I have a way to win every matchup now. Uh, Apart from like the matchups like you actually see, um, but then just getting there, like getting set up fast enough is awkward. Also against UV
Yeah.
Max, there are a number of techs that are very useful, but I don't always like I I don't play a lot because I don't see a lot of UV Max. So just run like one Yveltal.
Okay.
And obviously Yveltal is pretty important. But then also Bouffalant can like get rid of it, which is nice.
Hmm.
And then Spiritomb is also bad because Rotom's like important for early game. So if you get like early game Spiritomb, that's not good. But aside from that, I think the deck's it's pretty solid.
Okay. As I'm looking at this, I also the third deck I worked on this week that I haven't played yet, but I think I will be working on it. Is I updated my Snorlax stall deck, and I really lead into the annoyance factor. I tossed in the four crushing hammers as I look at Sanders' list because I wasn't playing because you don't usually play that. That's not what you're doing. But hey, that could help. I tossed in the four cross switchers. I tossed in the four Pokemon catchers. I tossed in the four boss. I just was all I'm like all in on all this stuff in this deck. So I don't know that it'll come together, but I'm just annoyance factor in this deck. I kicked this one up really high too.
Hmm. Yeah. And excuse me. And Snorlax Stall also has some like some serious more complicated control aspects other than just Snorlax as well. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. But then, is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to go talk about, or should we move into the next segment?
No, I don't have anything else with control. I'm still well. No, I'll just say what I really would like is a beginner friendly control deck, right? Because
I
like the
think
list you're
Snorlax Stall
working,
is pretty beginner friendly.
it is beginner friendly. The question that raises the question though, is it really a control deck, right? It has some control pieces like the
I
list
mean,
I'm
I'd say
playing,
Snorlax kind of like is a control card.
even Snorlax itself, and then I do play Crabominal in the deck if I get them down enough that I've just
Well, that's
wiped
like a
out.
mill card, not a control card, I'd say.
So Mills, so
I mean,
Stall
I'd
can be
say
control, but not
so. There's
Mill.
stall and
Okay.
control. Yeah, I don't exactly know what defines stall, but I don't know if I'd actually say Snorlax is like stall can often have to do with like healing and stuff as well,
Yeah.
and like looping stuff. So, Snorlax like yeah, it is stall, but I think something like Mimikyu is more stall. But I'd say this is
Okay.
like a control deck. Um, I'd say
Hmm.
something like Durant isn't a control deck, right? Would you agree with me on that?
I would agree. Yeah. I would agree that just a straight up mill deck is not a control. I mean, like the Chronomenal V, which I play one of. It's only if late game you want to speed up the end game if your opponent can't do anything, right? You've just wiped out their energies. They have an attacker. They you don't think they can get out of the active anymore. Just speed up the finish
Yeah.
is what I'd say.
And then I also think there are like there are decks like say my Meteor 3 max deck, or say you're using Toxicroak and you're just like Sherilling every turn,
Mhm.
and just like searching your deck and just Sherilling. I wouldn't say that
Yeah.
is I also wouldn't say that that's a control. I think to me what kind of defines it is you shouldn't be like using the same attack every turn. You need to have some like different routes and you need to have some depth. That's not really a good definition, but I feel like um you need to have some I don't know. I need to you're not just trying to like mill them out. You need to have a bit more of a diverse strategy.
Okay. You need to be you're countering what they're doing in a sense, right? With Mill, you're doing what you're doing basically for the most
Yeah.
part.
Hmm.
You're trying to get them stuck to a little bit, but not as much because you can't. dedicate a lot of resources to that strategy usually.
Yeah.
You got to get your mill pieces set up as fast as hard. The nice thing with Snorlax Stall, which makes it a little more beginner friendly, is it's infinite because it plays Pidgeot V, and that obviously is a relatively brainless infinite deck loop, right? Vanishing Wings is
Yeah.
on the bench. You just put it back into your deck, so you can get down to that your last card, and it's simple. Rather like your control deck, you've got to cycle through the pieces and do some thought.
Yeah, the top Snorlax stall list I have opened up here doesn't actually play Pidgeot. But yeah, I mean it plays. Is this infinite? I think it's infinite. Yeah, it has like Silene loops.
Okay, yeah,
And sure, infinite. But then I think what I want to talk about is you and I are both YouTubers, content creators. Um, is video ideas some, and I got a
okay.
few. And anyone listening also, I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say about. I mean, just content creation in general. These ideas, if you have ideas of your own. So I was thinking, and I've said this to you, and I've said this publicly a bunch, that I think collaboration is good for a channel. I
Hmm.
mean, I think everyone kind of knows that, as it helps you grow, but also helps make more interesting stuff. I don't know if this is a good example of that, but I think it can, like, with interaction between people, create more interesting ideas. And then like talking and stuff, like playing Pokemon TCG Live, you are technically interacting with someone, but I think most people don't view it in that way because it's just some random like person online who you don't know probably.
Right. Yeah, it's the person who's making the video. It's their video. It's really a one person video, and it's their dialogue. It's not even like a third party and dialoguing out a game. You're talking about your own game, so it's strictly one sided.
Yeah. So I was thinking of ideas, and I watch videos of games that aren't Pokemon TCG. But in this case,
Hmm.
this is for some videos I saw a while ago. Pretty much challenge videos. And
Okay.
I think those are generally interesting. You can have a challenge to do whatever. Say one of the popular ones, not for Pokemon, but for like other games, is like beat this game without like jumping or something. Um, which
Okay.
I don't know if that would be interesting. I mean, not beat Pokemon TCG Live without jumping. Crazy
That
idea.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, you could yeah, for I you could do that. Obviously, you need the right community of people to do it. Both the content creators that want to do it and an audience to want to do it. Right. I'm not. What would those challenges be for Pokemon? That's an interesting question for sure.
yeah, and I've thought of some, but uh, I think most of them end up with just like playing control, honestly. It's like, can I win a game of Pokemon without taking any prize cards, or can I win a game without like taking damage? I've considered maybe doing it without taking damage, um, or without, yeah, something like that. And that could be kind of interesting. But it's probably just going to be like your opponent like bricks, it doesn't set up, which isn't very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind is you can take out pieces of the game, and then we get to all my favorite decks. We can say, can I win? You have to build the best deck without playing energy. So now
Yep,
we all play
with
cast form,
cast
and
form,
that's
yep.
that's so and no one could get tired of that. Obviously, you play a deck without any supporters, so we're all playing like a Ditto Claydol deck then, right? Once
Yep.
again, I do these, but obviously you take out pieces, right? Obviously, people like single prize decks, which is in a sense its own truncated thing. You're reducing the game to something, right? Um, that's one way to do it. I don't know if that's overly interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and one thing, with the idea of like different formats, kind of, or like challenges. One thing,
yeah.
I saw a video by Ember Power, highlighting this. But the funny thing is, it wasn't. He thought it was. It's not completely. It's not completely copy of something else, but it's very similar to something else.
Hmm.
Um, which is Little Dark Fury's region challenge format.
Okay.
Which, if you couldn't tell from the name, is supposed to be like the gym leader challenge format, kinda. It's
Right. He
supposed to be
started up shortly after that, I think, right? It was
yeah.
about that time period.
Um, and as far as I know, he never made any videos about it, like published any. But yeah, it was like you have one generation of Pokemon, and you can only use like supporters from that generation, Pokemon from that
Hmm.
generation. Um, Yeah, and that was like a thing that I thought was funny, um, because a lot of things are trying to copy GLC as it's doing. I remember it was doing very well. It's still doing all right, but
Yeah,
not you can't play it on live or online, which is bad
correct.
for it. You can play standard, but um, unfortunately, standard GLC is not super interesting. A lot of decks don't have like you probably want like you need like 10 good attackers of every type or 10 good Pokemon of every type, and not every type has 10 very strong, like equally strong attackers.
Mhm. Yeah, and now well, part of the thing of a challenge is, are you challenging the other players, or are you challenging to do a deck and play it live on the ladder, which are two
Yeah.
different things. Do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, well, I'd say it's easier to have like the challenge for yourself.
Hmm.
If you're challenging against other players, it's a little more interesting. But this is where I got another idea, which it's this is not my idea, but this you can have a list of challenges to
Yeah.
do. Say win a game by at least three prizes. So your
Hmm.
opponent's your three prizes up. Um,
Right.
or something like that. And like a bunch of challenges like that. Win a game, say, without playing a supporter,
Hmm.
those types of things. And then you have, I think it's traditionally 25, and then
25 different challenges
yeah, and it's
is
called
the
a
list.
lockout,
Okay.
which is I've seen this for Minecraft. I've seen this for other games as well.
Hmm.
You try to you race against someone else, and you each try to you try to get 13 challenges, right? So you want to get over half. Once you beat one, your
Hmm.
opponent or like the other person cannot do it. You're probably in this case going to be playing on the ladder as well. Um,
Oh,
so you,
but once I finish a challenge, my opponent, like you and I were doing it, I'd finished challenge three. You can't do challenge three, so there has to be
yeah.
some real time aspect to it. Also, it seems better if it didn't need that, right? That like I need to
Um,
do it, say within 5 games or 10 games, let's say,
yeah, I think
and then
the
we can.
real-time aspect is like I think it makes it more interesting. And sometimes it's driven more towards live streaming as well. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be through live streaming, but part of it is I believe these were often done by speedrunners. So obviously this
Okay.
real-time aspect like would be interesting towards a similar audience to
Hmm.
speedrunners, because it's like you want to do it fast before the other person, and there's
Okay.
strategy as well. So I thought that was an interesting idea. There are other things like that as well. Um,
I kind of like that. It's not bad. I think 25 to get to 13, unless you can get a lot of them in one game, that's too many games to play
yeah,
for Pokemon.
that's probably going to be like each like 10 games to do that, which is a
Right.
bit
Maybe,
unfortunate, a
or
bit
maybe you
long.
make it like 7 challenges or 11
Yeah, I'd say
challenges.
yeah, so it should be a little less than that, but
Or challenges that you can hit like 5 or 6 challenges in a game if you kind of build it and work a certain way, right?
yeah, I think they should generally be challenges that you to put some amount of effort for. For example, obviously Live has challenges. Some of them are very easy challenges, like play one
Yes.
item or like three items. Um,
Hmm.
a lot of them, though, you have to go at least a little bit out of your way to do.
Yeah.
I,
Your favorite, of course, is don't concede for three
I know
games or
that's like
whatever it is.
impossible. um, yeah, there's like the one is like the stadium one or like the tool one, or the retreating one. Those are like the
Ooh,
ones where those are
yeah.
harder to do. You will not get those with every deck, most likely.
Right. Yeah. I will say I'm glad it's not specific though, because then that really limits things a lot, right?
Imagine
You
if it
have
was
a
like you need to get like a KO with a fairy Pokemon.
yes. Well, you can play expanded,
No,
right?
you
So
can, but you'd have to play expanded. It would just be like bad because it's expanded. And then you have these like
yes.
decks that you are like not good. That'd be funny. I think that'd be funny. I think it wouldn't be like good though. I think
No.
live, the economy is pretty very good, and a big part, and the challenges are very good. I think a lot of that's nice. Um,
Yeah, I think they're reasonable, the challenges.
yeah, definitely, they're pretty good. I can like you should be able to get them within 3 games, probably
Right.
both challenges, assuming you have access to essentially all the decks, which you can do not as a brand new player, but I'd say if you've been playing live for a year, you should certainly have access to. If you just go after, you can definitely have access to the top 10, maybe 15 decks of every um, meta like game looking on Limitless.
Right. I mean, the starter decks aren't terrible, and they give you at least one very good, right? The basic battle pass, since we've been doing it, has always been a very good deck that you get most of the pieces you're going to need for too. So it's pretty, they're generous in that regard.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things that I was thinking, which I kind of like this challenge notion, I had this other idea that could pair in. You have some type of a series, and then the person, it works easy with two people. It could work with more people too. But then the loser gets to make some modification to the challenge
Yeah, that'd
as it
be.
goes forward.
I think that's an interesting idea. I've seen stuff like that as well. It's like not like a handy, like a revert, like a kind of like a handicap.
Right.
But you
Yeah.
it's like you choose something
You
that
could then
like
change like
hopefully
3 challenges or something, the
yeah
loser for the next time, if you want to keep going.
yeah I think
Um,
that's a cool idea as well.
I mean, I get that idea from back in PTCGO. They had that the deck. What was the thing that it automatically built a deck for you? You picked
The
like two
the deck
cards.
wizard.
The deck wizard, right? And some of the content creators did a deck wizard challenge, right? Which probably wasn't the best. It wasn't the best thing. It didn't get good, big content. But
I
then
think it was.
the
Oh, I think the problem
losers,
was it was very luck based. You could end up like a lot
yeah,
of the times you end up with cards that are literally like useless. Like you can't play them in the game, um, because it's like not the right type.
right. I mean, as good as like the if you play against the AI, both in PTCGO or now in live, it makes some really terrible choices. And the deck wizard we just made these. It just had a few like 6 basic rules to build the deck, and it was terrible, right?
Yeah, it was
But
it
then
was all random.
but then the loser in that the deck wizard challenge, I think for the rounds, losers could then like swap out 2 cards from their deck to try to kind of even things out. So it's kind of that idea, trying to even things out, keeping things competitive as it
Yeah, I
goes
think
forward.
that's a fun idea. Oh, and one thing, another speaking of content ideas that flopped, I might actually make a whole video on this at some point. It's something that is in it should have been big, but I think, but it was not, and that's the OPOP. Do you remember that?
I'm not. It's not ringing a bell immediately.
Okay, it's
So
the OmniPoke Online Play League. Does that ring a bell?
yeah, yes.
A little
It,
bit.
it was during COVID, right? When people were looking for content and things to do, right?
I
And this
don't
was
know.
between
I think it
content
was.
creators, was it, or
Yeah,
no?
so this was like, here, how about you name some content creators and I'll tell you if they're in it.
Was Tablemon in it?
Yep, I'm pretty sure Table One's in. I don't actually know the list, but I think so.
I think so, right? And Omnipoke, probably both Omnipoke
Yep, both
blokes were
both of the
there.
blokes were there.
Let's see, was Azul there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Zool was there.
Okay, was Tord there? Okay,
No, I don't think he has like a
he's
channel.
not so much a content
I mean,
creator.
he
He does
kind of has a
some,
channel. He
but
has the TCG Park channel, but
he's a player. Zapdos.
yeah.
Okay, so
I mean, they were all there. I'll just say that.
yeah, all the big names,
Tricky
all
Jim
these
was
big
there.
names.
Little Dark Fury was there.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know if For the Win was there. Um,
But they had the names to make something big,
yeah,
though,
they
right? Like
literally had
pretty
like
much all
everyone.
the big names were there.
And then they also had, I believe, Purple Cliff, who is well, okay, so Purple Cliff has 300,000 subscribers, who is
Okay.
a Pokemon video game player predominantly.
Okay.
I heard that he was in it, and I think there might have been some matches. But I don't think he ever produced videos on his own channel about it. So it might have just been a name that they dragged into it. I don't really know too much about that, but like, yeah, they had all these people,
Hmm.
and they played Pokemon with one another. But pretty much, it did badly. It performed badly on all their channels, or pretty much all the channels. There were a few small channels where it
Hmm.
performed kind of good, but like not even that good. But like if you're like, oh, I'm playing with Andrew Mahone, then it'll do at least all right.
Right. You'd figure Tablemon Andrew Mahone playing should get some views, right? But it was like there were like some of the worst videos for all the people doing this, right?
Yeah,
What I call.
they're like the podcasts. Yeah, if you don't know how
Ouch.
podcasts do perform, they're usually 10 out of 10.
And
10 out of 10 is bad. They're usually bad.
yeah, the views are well. Look, the number of views is lower, right? But maybe
That's why
that's just because
that's why you need to
everybody's
watch
listening
this
to it in the app,
podcast,
right?
like the video, and subscribe. No, yeah, I mean, I don't think that's what it is, but it's
So,
different. But with the OPOP,
yeah, it's back to that.
people like they wouldn't talk with their opponents to make it like competitive.
Well,
Um,
we've had that issue, right? Because you want to do videos together, but you want to play like against each other, right? Like we've each built our own decks and stuff, and I don't want to tell you what I'm considering and stuff, and I don't want to say what's in my hand if I'm playing to win. So that's a tricky thing, right? Versus playing for content.
Yeah. And then so I noticed, and with Andrew Mahone, he has been doing a tabletop gameplay. I don't think he's been doing all tabletop gameplay. He's been doing less videos. But in
Yeah.
those tabletop videos, he's playing against another person physically. And when he's
Yep.
doing that, he usually they like talk through game plan,
Hmm.
and other stuff. And usually, obviously, there's some like point to the video as well. It's showcasing something, and so they'll talk about that thing. And that
Hmm.
like works pretty well. The videos themselves are a bit slow, but there's a lot of stuff going on. But then
Hmm.
yeah, the OBOP they were not talking, and so pretty much it was like a ladder video, like where someone just like plays a game on a ladder, except they
Hmm.
said less because they were trying harder, and
They
they were
were
just
thinking a lot,
playing
right?
like the top decks, so it was like boring games.
Hmm.
Um, and it just wasn't like good. And then sometimes some people would like try more than others. Like some people would bring like the top decks. Like I think like they're like, yeah, I'm playing ADP, Eternatus, and Pika. And the other person's like playing like a bunch of like single price decks, and they just like lose. But most of
Yeah.
the people are just playing the top decks, and it ended up like not being good. So
Yeah, yeah. Talking and playing is tricky. I think back to OmniPoke. They had some early videos where they were kind of interview shows with other, like Joe interviewing some other player, and they would play kind of casually during the interview. Which is I kind of like that idea, right? Besides, so you have something to look at. They're playing, and occasionally you talk about the game. Most of the time, they would do an interview, which I thought was okay. It was a long time ago, so obviously they have not gone back to
yeah,
that.
I have not seen any of those videos. Presumably they're like, or I might have seen one or two. I believe they were like bad and just in like low quality. Like
Yeah, I
generally
think
the
they
bigger
were.
you are, excuse me, the bigger you are, the better your like quality of content is. So they were smaller, but they very well
Yeah.
may have been. I think the idea is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you're a big fan of the collaborative things. Obviously, getting the right people to collaborate with, but also getting the idea of what you want to collaborate on is good. I mean, the challenges idea is not terrible. Maybe that we can assign ourselves a project of like working. What could some challenges be for the TCG, right?
Yeah, and I was thinking about that some, and I haven't. I think I actually might have like a document somewhere of like a bunch of challenges. So that might be coming soon. And if any of you have suggestions as well, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, if something that we've said sounds good, or you have your own ideas, please let us know in the comments below the video, which is in both our channels, Uncommon Fossil, um, with one M and 10 types
Without an M.
with zero M's. Exact. There we go. Now,
Yeah.
now you got a way to identify yourself too.
Yeah. Oh, and I think I decided I need more subscribers. So no, I think I'm gonna do a giveaway at 1,000 subscribers. So
Okay.
yeah, I need
Did you
something
want to
to give
specify
away.
what you're gonna give away? Oh, okay, so that's the
Oh yeah,
next
no,
thing.
it'll probably be codes. Which means I need to
Okay,
like buy codes.
you're gonna have to pay
Um,
for codes. Yeah.
yeah. But that shouldn't be like a huge deal. Presumably at some point between now and then, I'll acquire some like packs and get some codes. Um, but
Yes.
yeah, that'll be lots of. I don't even know how to do this. But I'm sure something will get figured out.
Right. How do you do it, right? Is it just you're gonna like reveal the code and it's first come, first serve?
Well, no. Well, no, it needs the giveaway. You need to be like
You want to
subscribed. Then you need to
give
like
it to
do
people.
something.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
So
you gotta direct message them unless you want someone else to be able to snatch it if you just put it in the
yeah.
comments.
So you probably need to like do it through Discord.
Hmm.
Luckily, it's not like hopefully people aren't like lying about it. I don't think they will. It's a decently small community. I mean, very small. Like I have a
Hmm.
Discord. It's not active really. You can post stuff in there, and I'll see it. But yeah, people don't really talk that much in it. It's mostly just there in case you want to connect with me, which is probably the best way to connect with me very directly. But yeah, I think that's about it for this podcast.
Yeah, I think we kind of we didn't have the big focus topics. We hit some smaller things. So let us know if this is a positive format for you or not. If you'd like us to kind of have one or two things we spend more time on, we could make that more of a focus once again too. So yeah. So obviously, if you like this content or our other content, our other videos, we both have YouTube channels with other videos that get a lot more views than these podcasts.
I don't know if
Check
I'd say
those
like a
out.
lot more, like more. We're not like
Well,
big time.
no, but look, I mean, it's more than 10 times more views on a lot of other videos, right?
Uh,
Than the
Maybe
podcast. Is that true? Maybe not. Maybe you're,
it's like 5 times.
okay.
You know.
So it's all relative, but take a look at that, and obviously like, subscribe, and I think all of the podcast apps out there. If there's some app that we didn't get it into, you can let us know. Let us know in the YouTube, because we there are things we can do to get it out there more. But I think we're out there in all the ones right now, as far as I'm aware of.
Yeah. Oh,
Anything else you want
and
to say?
well, if you comment on another platform, we probably will not see it. Like we're not.
Yeah.
We don't know how to see it. So please comment on YouTube, or if you commented on like another platform, and you're like, why didn't
Mhm.
they respond to us? Say comment on the YouTube or Discord, probably YouTube, and then we will see that YouTube comment, and then we can look into that more so. But yeah, as
Right.
of now, I have not seen any comments from any other platform. You haven't either, right?
I have not, so no. I maybe one day need to try to figure that out, but you know, that's not top of the list right now for us. So
Yeah, but
could change.
we hope you enjoyed.
Yep.
And yeah, we're excited to keep doing this the weekly podcast. See you next time.
Take care.